They train you from childhood to explain yourself, to justify, to rush in with words the moment tension enters the room. You feel it in your chest when someone raises an eyebrow at you, when an accusation hangs in the air just long enough to feel dangerous. Your instincts kick in fast, almost panicked, because silence feels like guilt, and guilt feels like death to your reputation. So you talk, you clarify, you defend, you plead your case as if life were a courtroom, and everyone else had already decided you were wrong. And that is exactly where you lose your power. There is a moment most people can remember, even if they don't like to think about it. A meeting where a colleague subtly questioned your competence. A family gathering where someone twisted your words and watched you squirm. A relationship argument where the more you explained, the worse it got, like quicksand tightening around your ankles. You weren't lying. You weren't wrong. You were just talking too much. And with every sentence, the balance of power tilted further away from you. Machiavelli understood this long before social media, long before office politics had names, long before public image became a currency traded every second. He understood something deeply uncomfortable about human nature. People do not respect explanations. They respect control. And nothing signals loss of control faster than the need to defend yourself. When you defend yourself, you silently accept the frame that someone else has imposed on you. You agree, without realizing it, that they have the authority to question you. You step onto their stage, under their lights, playing by rules you did not create. Even if your explanation is flawless, even if every word is true, the very act of defending puts you beneath the judge. It makes you reactive. And reactive people are never powerful. Think about the figures in your life who seem untouchable. The ones rumors can't quite stick to. The ones accusations slide off of like rain on glass. They aren't powerful because they are innocent. They are powerful because they don't scramble. They don't rush to correct every narrative. They don't treat every comment like a threat that must be neutralized immediately. Their silence does something unsettling. It forces the other person to sit alone with their accusation, to feel the weight of it without resistance, and that weight often collapses inward. There is a strange psychological shift that happens when you refuse to defend yourself. The spotlight moves. The person accusing you suddenly becomes the one exposed. Their motives start to glow under the harsh light of unanswered questions. Why are they so invested? Why do they need a reaction? Why does your calm unsettle them more than anger ever could? In that quiet space, power changes hands without a single word being spoken. Most people don't realize that accusations feed on engagement. They need your energy, your anxiety, your urgency to survive. When you explain yourself, you give the accusation oxygen. You validate it as something worthy of debate. You turn it into a conversation instead of what it often is, a test. And tests are not meant to be passed with answers. They are meant to be passed with composure. Machiavelli would never tell you to be passive. This is not weakness disguised as wisdom. This is restraint sharpened into a weapon. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is not emptiness. It is presence. It communicates that you are not afraid of perception, that you trust your position enough to let noise burn itself out. And nothing unnerves an aggressor more than realizing their words have no leverage. There's a reason interrogators are trained to let silence stretch. A reason the most dangerous negotiators speak the least. A reason the most powerful people in a room rarely rush to explain themselves. Silence creates pressure. People are deeply uncomfortable filling a void when they don't know what the other side is thinking. They start to talk. They reveal more than they planned. They overreach. And in that overreach, they expose themselves. Consider how often defending yourself has actually worked. Not temporarily, not in the moment, but in the long arc of influence. How many times did your explanation truly change someone's mind? And how many times did it simply give them more material to twist, more details to question, more angles to attack? The truth most people avoid is this: explanations rarely convince skeptics. They mostly satisfy your own anxiety. The need to defend is often rooted in fear of being misunderstood. But misunderstanding is not fatal. Loss of authority is. When you rush to clarify, you show that being seen incorrectly terrifies you. And fear is visible even through well-constructed sentences. People sense it in tone, in pacing, in the subtle urgency behind your words. Once they smell fear, the dynamic is already set. The trick is not to say nothing forever. The trick is timing. Power is not about muteness. It's about choosing when your words matter. There are moments when speaking is necessary, when silence would be surrender. But those moments come after you have let the other side reveal their hand, after the emotional dust has settled, after the accusation has aged and lost its heat. Then, if you speak, you do so from above the narrative, not inside it. Watch how confident people respond to unfair criticism. They don't deny immediately. They don't argue point by point. They acknowledge without agreeing. They move forward without dragging the accusation along behind them, like a chain. Their posture says, without saying it, "This does not define me." And because they believe it, others eventually do too. There is also a darker truth Machiavelli would quietly nod at. Sometimes people accuse you not because they believe it, but because they want to see you weaken. They want to watch you bend, justify, and shrink under pressure. Your defense is the reward. Your composure is the punishment. When you deny them the spectacle, the game loses its thrill. This is especially brutal in modern life, where outrage travels faster than context, and perception often matters more than fact. Defending yourself online, in public, in emotionally charged spaces, is like trying to extinguish a fire with gasoline. Every reply invites another attack. Every clarification opens a new front. Silence, on the other hand, starves the flames. It forces the crowd to move on in search of easier prey. None of this is comfortable. The first time you choose not to defend yourself, your body will rebel. Your mind will scream that you're making a mistake, that people will assume the worst, that you're letting lies stand. You'll feel exposed, almost naked. That discomfort is the price of growth. It is the feeling of stepping out of a reactive life and into a strategic one. Over time, something changes. You stop seeing every comment as a threat. You stop needing universal approval. You begin to understand that your reputation is not built in arguments, but in consistency. People watch what you do far more closely than what you say, and when your actions contradict the accusations, no defense is required. Reality speaks louder than explanation ever could. Machiavelli's trick is not about manipulation for its own sake. It is about understanding the mechanics of power and refusing to give it away cheaply. Words are currency. Spend them wisely. When you defend yourself reflexively, you spend them on people who have done nothing to earn them. When you hold them back, you force the world to meet you where you stand. There is a quiet confidence that emerges when you no longer feel obligated to answer every challenge. A steadiness, a sense that you are anchored somewhere deeper than public opinion. From that place, your presence changes. People hesitate before testing you. Conversations feel different. You are no longer dancing to someone else's rhythm. You are setting the tempo. And perhaps the most unexpected effect is internal. When you stop defending yourself, you stop defending the fragile version of you that needs validation to survive. You begin to act from a stronger core, one that doesn't panic when misunderstood, one that trusts time and truth to do their work. That version of you doesn't need to flip the power. The power is already there. The world will always have accusations, misinterpretations, people who project their insecurities onto you. The question is not whether they will come, but whether you will step into their frame when they do. Silence is not absence. It is a statement, and in the hands of someone who understands it, it is one of the most unsettling statements of all.